Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good afternoon, dear students. Today, in this particular video, we will be we will be discussing the provisions under Income Tax Act 1961 relating to search and seizure. Actually, search, seizure, and survey. Basically, these are interrelated. But for the sake of simplicity, we will be discussing the first part, that is search and seizure, in this particular video. And as far as survey is concerned, that will be discussed in some other video. In this particular module, in this particular video, we are basically we will be focusing on search and seizure aspect. So first of all, kindly you should be clear, first of all, what is search, why search is conducted, why search is there. So in simple language, in common you may say, in common parlance, in a layman's language, you may say that when we say that raid has been conducted by the income tax department. So that is, from that you may get an idea that it is basically relating to search and seizure. So we will be saying it, not we will saying it as raid, we will be saying it search and seizure. Kindly note that. Now let us start. First of all, who can conduct search? The question arises, who can conduct a search? So in this regard, it should be noted that, kindly note that income tax authority, that income tax authority, you may say, having power to initiate search under section 132, such income tax authority can authorize even its subordinates, but not below the rank of ITO, not below the rank of income tax officers, to conduct search. So it should be noted that income tax authority that is having power to initiate search under section 132, such authority can authorize any subordinate, but not below the rank of ITO, not below the rank of income tax officer. For which purpose? In order to conduct search. So it should be noted. Again, it should be noted that sometimes some confusion may be there, that search can be made only when some proceedings are pending. But my dear students, kindly note, no such confusion should be there. Kindly note that search can be taken even when no proceedings are pending against the, you may say, against such person, against such assessee, before any income tax authorities. So kindly note that. And in case, you should also note that in case some inquiry or some investigation, even no proceedings are pending, but in case some inquiry, in case some investigation relating to some agreement under section 90 or under section 90A, that is there, and in that case such power can be exercised by any notified income tax authority, but not below the rank of assistant commissioner of income tax. So you may say that in such cases, the income tax authority that is assistant commissioner level, of at the level of assistant commissioner or above, they may deal with that. Now some question may arise that what are the circumstances when search may be there? What are the circumstances when search is basically conducted? So kindly note, first of all, first thing you should note that some solid reason should be there before authorizing some officer to conduct such type of search. Solid reason to believe something, reason should be there. Some solid information should be with the department, should be with the authority. and on the basis of that reason to believe, it is not simply guesswork, it is not simply some sort of, you may say, an idea only. Some solid information is there, and on the basis of that particular reason to believe, on that basis, the income tax authority can initiate such proceedings. Proceedings, which type of proceedings? Basically, we are talking of search. And what is that? Authority has a reason to believe, solid reason to believe that that any person to whom some notice was issued as per the provisions of act. Basically, as per, the notice was issued under section 142 subsection 1, or any person to whom summons were issued under section 131 subsection 1, and that he was asked to produce some document. He was asked to, by this notice, by such summons, he was asked to submit books of accounts or some other documents. But that person has not complied with the orders. He has failed to comply with the orders. Secondly, what may be there? Any person to whom summons, you may say, were issued, or to whom notice was issued, and we believe, and income tax authorities strongly believe, that he will not be producing the required documents, he will not be producing the required books of accounts. Means, we believe, the income tax authority believe that that person to whom such notice is being issued or has been issued, or a person to whom summons are being issued or have already been issued, he will not do so, he will not do the needful. In that case also, it is also a solid ground for conducting search. Then then kindly note that some person is there, and some money, some bullion, some jewelry, or some other valuable article or thing is there in that person's custody. Kindly note. And again, we know, we have strong reason to believe that such that we are reason to believe that such money, such jewelry, such bullion, such valuable article, such valuable thing, basically it, you may say, it represents undisclosed income, or basically some sort of undisclosed property is there. And when we have reason to believe that, in that case, designated prescribed competent income tax authority can conduct the search. Now, one thing more. You see, power before initiating search and seizure under section 132. I have already told you indirectly, but let us summarize once again. Again, note that a reason to suspect must be there. A reason to suspect must be there, and strong reason should be there that some income has been concealed, or some income is likely to be concealed by some person, by some class of persons. So it is necessary, some reason should be there, and it should be solid. And income tax authority, being principal director general, or you may say director general, or even principal director, or director, joint director, and you may say assistant director, or even deputy director, or in case some authorized officer that has been who has been authorized by such authorities, so that officer can take the necessary action. Now, one thing more you should note, and we will be discussing. So kindly note that in case some books of accounts, or some documents, some books of accounts, or some documents are there are there with the person, but in this case you should note that such authority, the competent authority, will not be in a position to, the authority can't impound the books of accounts or other documents without recording the reasons for doing so. So, what is the theme? That before impounding any books of accounts, before impounding any document, the reasons for doing so must be recorded, and it is very necessary to do so. And again, no, you may say assessing officer or no assistant director, no, you may say deputy director, will keep in his custody such books of accounts or documents for a period exceeding 15 days, exclusive of holidays, of course. In case it is needed, in case it is required, the books are required or the documents are required to be retained for a period exceeding 15 days. What will be in that case? In that case, you may say prior approval of principal chief commissioner, or you may say chief commissioner, or principal director general of income tax, or even director general, then principal commissioner or CIT, that is commissioner of income tax, or principal director or director will be needed. So, in case the, you may say, persons, the income tax authorities like assessing officer, assistant director, deputy director want to do so, in that case, they will have to take the prior approval from these higher authorities in order to keep the retain the, you may say, books of accounts for a period beyond 15 days, or even before impounding, or you may say, in order to retain the books, in order to impound the books, they will have to record their reasons for doing so in writing. So it is necessary. Then, who is empowered to issue search warrants? Who is empowered to issue search warrants? Again, it should be noted that the principal director general, director general, or principal director, director, then principal chief commissioner or chief commissioner, principal commissioner, or even commissioner, they are empowered to authorize proceedings under this section, or they are empowered to issue search warrants. So they are empowered. And one thing more you should be noted, that proceedings may be related to any year, kindly note, which is pending on the date on which search is authorized, or even which may have been completed on or before such date. First of all, it is pending, and secondly, it has already been completed on or before such date, or then even such type of proceedings which may be commenced after such date in respect of any year. You see, now it is being conducted. Now, authorized officer is there, who is there to conduct the search. Kindly note now, what are the powers? What are the powers of the authorized officer conducting search as far as Income Tax Act is concerned? So kindly note, under the various sections of the Income Tax Act 1961, various powers, number of powers have been given to such authorized officer to conduct search. So first part is enter and search any building, any place, any vessel, any vehicle, or even any aircraft where the authorized officer has sufficient reasons to suspect that such books of accounts or some documents, money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable things or articles are kept. In case I have already told you that sufficient reason should be there. In that case, the authorized officer is empowered to enter in such building and enter that place, some place, enter vehicle, vessel, aircraft, and search activities may be carried on. Search may be carried out. So it should be noted. Then secondly, kindly note that when search is being conducted, and search is being conducted, but some door is not opened, some box is not opened, some locker is there, and when they ask the assessee to open that locker, so he is not cooperating, he is he says that keys are not available. In that case, the authorized officer is duly empowered to open that lock, that almirah, that door, and he can do so. He is empowered to do so. Then the third part is search person. Let us suppose some person is going in, some person is going out, and you may say some person is there in the building, place, vessel, as we have discussed in the first part. So and the authorized officer, again, he thinks he has sufficient reason to suspect that it might have happened that that person is removing, that is taking away some confidential documents. He is taking away some books of accounts or some material that is very useful for the purpose of conducting this search. Or he may be taking away, he may be, you may say, taking away some money, some bullion, some jewelry, or any valuable article. In that case, again, authorized officer is authorized to search that person, and he or she may be asked to stay there until the search is complete. Then we are continuing with the powers of authorized officer. Then, in case some person is there, and we think, and the authorized officer think that he is in possession or control of some books of accounts or some documents which have been kept in the form of e-record, electronic record. So authorized person may ask him, such person, to help the authorized officer in, you may say, inspecting the books of accounts or documents. So he may be asked to he may be asked to help the assessee in conducting the, you may say, search in an effective way. Then in case search has been conducted, and as a result of such search, some books of accounts or some documents, some money, some bullion, some jewelry, or some valuable article or thing has been found. So in that case, authorized officer is really empowered to seize such things, to seize such stock, other than stock, not stock, to seize, you may say, any books of accounts, documents, money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable article. I'm not considering, I am not including the stock. Regarding stock in trade, regarding that I will be clarifying that matter. So kindly note, it is not there. Again, authorized officer is free to. Authorized officer is, you may say, empowered to place some marks of identification. He may place some marks of identification on, you may say, books of accounts or documents, or he is empowered to even take extracts from the books of accounts or documents and make and have xerox copies of those documents, those books of accounts. Then kindly make that he is empowered to make an inventory of such items. Which type of items? Like money, bullion, jewelry, valuable article or valuable things. Or again, you see, authorized officer conducting search, he has been empowered to examine on oath any person who is there and who is found to be in possession of, or who is having under his control any books of accounts, again, documents, money, bullion, jewelry, valuable article or thing. And kindly note that further, his or her his or her statement may be recorded. I have just told you also earlier that no seizure of stock in trade is can be there. No seizure of stock in trade can be there. So note, kindly note that you may say that if, as far as bullion is concerned, jewelry is concerned, other valuable articles or things are concerned, in case these are stock in trade of the business, then in that case these shall not be seized. But in that case, only the authorized officer is empowered to make a note of, or he is empowered to make inventory of such stock in trade. Now, one thing more, dear students, you should note that sometimes it may happen that that jurisdictional area is there. Jurisdictional area is allotted to each and every officer. It is, you may say that it is there. And kindly note that we have to make search. We have to make search, but we have to make some search in some building, or you may say place, vessel, vehicle, aircraft, and that is within the area of jurisdiction of any principal chief commissioner, principal commissioner, or commissioner. But such authority has no jurisdiction over such person. Kindly note, some confusion may arise. We are not having such authority. Income tax authority, as I have mentioned you just now, they have no jurisdiction over such person. Then in that case, what will happen? But we very strongly feel that it is there, and you see that it should be searched. Search should be made. Search proceedings should be initiated. Then what will be there? And it is believed, and it is also believed that when during when in case we want to get authorization from the concerned authority, you may say competent authority of that particular area, and we believe that it will result in delay. Some delay may be there, and as a result of the delay, it may be prejudicial to the interest of the revenue. Then in that case, what will be there? The authority may act as such, and they may exercise their own powers. What will be there? Again, what will be there? That uh, kindly note that within 60 days from the date when search was executed, within 60 days of doing so, such assets or documents will be handed over to the assessing officer having a real jurisdiction over such person. So it should be kept in mind. And after that, once we have seized the things, after that what will happen? After that, once we have handed over all the things, we have handed over assets, documents to the assessing officer of that particular area, of that particular jurisdiction, then after that, particular assessing officer who is having jurisdiction, he will be exercising all other powers. So it must be kept in mind, dear students. And but it should be noted that in that case, we have conducted the search, and we have seized the money also. But one thing you should note that, and it is also to be noted that this reason to suspect recorded by the income tax authority, but it shall not be disclosed to any person. It shall not be disclosed to any authority or the appellate tribunal. A deemed or constructive seizure. What is deemed or constructive seizure? Then some deemed or constructive seizure is also there. What is that, and what are the conditions? Kindly note then, when something is very bulky, something is very heavy, and it is not practically feasible, it is not practically possible or practicable to take physical possession of such valuable article thing and to take it to some other place by reason of its, you may say, weight, or its volume, or some other physical characteristics, or it being something of dangerous nature. In that case, what will happen? In that case, in order to deal with that part, deemed or constructive seizure, we are having deemed or constructive seizure. And what will be there in that case? The authorized officer may serve an order to the owner or to a person in whose custody such thing is there, such valuable article thing is there. Authorized officer will be specifying, he will be directing that person not to remove, not to part with, or otherwise deal with such article without getting the permission from him, without getting prior permission from the authorized officer. So, my dear student, it is basically constructive seizure. And once the person has been informed regarding that, in that case, what will be there? In that case, it will be believed that authorized officer has basically seized that article. So it will be in the nature of, it will be deemed to be seizure. So it is basically constructive seizure. And kindly note, but no such order can be passed for any article or thing which has been held by the assessee, by the person, as stock in trade. And this I have also mentioned on various occasions. Now again, what is provisional attachment? One more thing is there, provisional attachment. Kindly note that when, when during the course of search or when during the course of seizure, kindly note, within a period of 60 days from the date on which the last of the authorization for search was executed. In that case, what will be there? The authorized officer may attach provisionally. The authorized officer is empowered to attach provisionally any property belonging to the assessee, and for the said purpose, the provisions of second schedule shall apply. It should be kept in mind. Basically, provisional assessment we are discussing. And again, you should note that I think it is not clear yet. So let me explain it further. It should be noted that when authorized officer is satisfied that in order to protect the interest of revenue, that it will be in the interest of revenue, it is necessary to do so, it is necessary to take such action. But which type of action? Regarding provisional attachment. So in that case, various reasons which such, you may say, authorized officer thinks, so such reasons must be recorded in writing. And before doing so, my dear students, kindly note, the prior approval in written form from principal director journal, or director journal, or principal director or director must have been taken. So only after taking approval from, written approval from such higher authorities, provisional attachment can be made. And various reasons are required to be recorded in writing. It must be in the interest of the revenue. Again, one thing you should note, that this provisional attachment will be, you may say, will be having effect up to 6 months from the date of such order. And after the expiry of 6 months, it shall cease to have impact. It must be kept in mind. And once more, you should be noting that in case the authorized officer thinks possible, in case the authorized officer thinks that it is required, then in that case, authorized officer may make a reference to the valuation officer, and that valuation officer will estimate the FMV, we may say, fair market value of the property, in the prescribed manner, and he will submit a report of the estimated fair market value to the said officer. From the, he will be submitting his report within 60 days from the date of getting such a reference from the authorized officer. Section 292CC, basically it deals with authorization and assessment in case of search or requisition. Kindly note that when some authorization under section 132 has been issued, or some requisition under section 132A has been issued, and it has been issued, you may say, that it is having names of more than one person, it is having names of more than one person, then again, one thing you should be noting, that we can't deemed to assume that it was issued in the name of AOP or BUI consisting of such persons. Should not be blindly believed. And again, you should note that when names of more than one person have been mentioned in such authorization under section 132 or under section 132A. You may say search or requisition. In that case, assessment or reassessment shall be made in the name of each of the persons mentioned in such authorization or recognition. It is not so that it is applicable as such. Now, what is the time limit for retention? What is the time limit for retention? I think I have already told you. Once again, it is there. The main provision is that these seized documents, these books of accounts, can be retained by the authorized officer up to 30 days, and in case they require these documents for a period exceeding 30 days, then prior approval should be taken from the higher authorities, and the reasons of doing so must be recorded in writing, and prior approval from the higher authorities. I have already told you which type of authorities are authorized to allow this. Now, again, dear students, one thing you should be the aforesaid authorities shall not authorize the retention of the books of account or other document for a period exceeding 30 days when all the proceedings have been completed. No excuse in that case is there. And what are the powers of the board to pass an order when a person is legally entitled to a books of accounts or other documents seized, and such a person objects for any reason to the approval given by the authority, and such a person makes an application to the board stating therein the reasons for such objection and requesting for the return of the books of account or other documents, then the board may, after giving the applicant an opportunity of being heard, pass such orders as it thinks fit. So it should be kept in mind. A board is empowered to pass an order, and it is basically in favor of the assessee, and board may, after giving an opportunity of being heard, pass an order as it thinks fit, keeping in mind various grounds, various circumstances of the case. Again, what are the presumptions in case of search? You see, when search is conducted, then and kindly think that we found the authorized officer, you may say he find some books of accounts, some documents, money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable article or other valuable thing, and you may say it is found in the possession of some person. So what are the presumptions? It will be presumed that such things we have just discussed, these belong to that fellow, and we will believe, let us suppose some receipt is there, some slip is there, some bill is there, let us suppose, we will assume that contents of such books of accounts and various other documents are true. It will be presumed, and let us suppose some signature is there, and some on books of accounts and other documents handwritten material is there, some document is duly stamped, executed, or attested. We are in a position to, we are power to presume that it was duly stamped, executed, or attested by the person by whom it purports to have been so executed or attested. And you should note that search is, some risk may also be there while conducting search. So the authorized person, the authorized officer of the income tax, the authorized person or persons may take help from other government officer. They may ask police officer or any other officer of central government to assist them to invoke his power. So it will be the duty of the police officer, police department, to cooperate with income tax department. And this I have already told you, that the person from whose custody some books of accounts or other documents are seized, in case he requests, then in that case he may make copies of, or he may take some extracts from those books of accounts or documents. And but kindly note that such a right can be exercised only in the presence of the authorized officer or some authorized some in the presence of some person who is duly empowered by authorized officer, and it would be done, some copies should be taken at the place or at that time which, you may say, authorized officer may fix. As the provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 are concerned, kindly note that these provisions as such too, these would be applicable to the, you may say, search and seizure made under this act. So same procedure, same aspects, same provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 will be applicable to various searches and seizure made under the provisions of Income Tax Act 1961. Now, kindly note that board is authorized to make rules. The board is authorized to make rules under section 132, subsection 14. Rules regarding search, rules regarding seizure, and these rules are required to be followed by the various, you may say, authorized officer. The authorized officer who is conducting search or who is conducting search, that particular income tax authority will have to obey, will have to keep in mind, will have to arrange their activities keeping in mind these rules. So these rules may be regarding for obtaining ingress, that is related to right to enter into any building, place, vessel, aircraft, vehicle, as we have already studied, and which they think need to be searched. So where they feel that some search is necessary, search should be made in order to find something relevant, and they must obey the rules and procedures made in this regard. So secondly, they should ensure they should ensure safe custody of various, you may say, seized things. These may be books of accounts or some useful documents or even some valuable things or some assets. So rules may be framed in order to ensure the safe custody of the assets seized, documents seized. So it is applicable, it must be kept in mind. Now, powers to requisition books of accounts or, you may say, assets, etc. Section 132A deals with that. So kindly note, what are the circumstances when these powers, as I have just mentioned, these powers given under section 132A can be invoked. Kindly note, competent income tax authority sufficient reason to believe sufficient reason to believe. Now, first of all, competent authority. What is, you may say, which authority is competent to invoke powers under section 132A? So, kindly note, basically, it will be principal DG, that is Director General, or DG, Principal Director, Director, Principal Chief Commissioner, Chief Commissioner, or Principal Commissioner, or simply Commissioner. So they think, according to, again I am telling, according to some useful, some solid information, that the person to whom some summon has been issued, to whom some notice was issued, and he has omitted or failed to produce such books, or in that case, as I have already told you, that the books have been taken into custody by some authorized officer or by some other authority. Authorized, it is understood that it is authorized. When it is thought that such books of accounts or documents are relevant to some proceeding under this act, and we believe that the person where we want to conduct search, he will not be providing such books, such documents on its returning by the other authority. And any assets, let us suppose that any asset taken into custody by any officer, or any asset taken into custody by any authority under any other law for the time being in force is undisclosed, fully or partially. Actually, kindly note, dear students, it may happen that when, in case, some books, books of accounts, some documents, some assets has already been taken into custody by some other department. It may be, let us assume that some assets have been seized under the provisions of FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act, or it is there as per the provisions of under GST. So we are we are dealing with that matter. In that case, it may be there, or power is there to requisition for requesting the things, books of accounts, documents, valuable things already taken into custody by some other authority, by some other department. Now, kindly note, the officer, the concerned officer, can make a request. Let us suppose it has been these books, these records have been seized by authority under FEMA. Then what will happen? The authority under Income Tax Act, that authority will request that other authority who is having the custody of such books to deliver such books, etc., to this authority from Income Tax Department. Then let us suppose when request has been made on the requisition, the other authority that will deliver the things, that will deliver the, as we have said, it may be books, documents, assets to the requisitioning officer from the Income Tax Department. And it will be there that when the other officer believes that now their purpose has been, you may say, their purpose has been served, and they no longer they no longer need to retain these books in his or her custody. When their purpose is over, it should be noted. And in that case, such other authority, in that case, such authority, such books of accounts, documents shall be deemed to be seized under section 132(1). So this was my point. This was my point. Kindly keep in mind that we are getting those things, we are getting those books of accounts, documents, valuable things from the other department officer, and then when we have received it, then such seizure will be basically deemed to be seized under section 132 subsection 1. Again, application of seized or requisitions assets, it deals with basically what to do with those assets, what to do with those seized assets, or what to do with those requisitions assets. Actually, these are also seized assets, but these we have just obtained from some other authority, which has, you may say, seized these assets as per their provisions. So, what is the provision, dear students? Kindly note. First of all, the amount will be used in order to meet the amount of any existing liability under Income Tax Act 1961, under Wealth Tax Act 1957. Now that has been abolished. Then it will be used, the amount will be used for some existing liability covered, but kindly note that it will not include the existing, you may say, liability regarding advance tax payable. It will not cover that. Then it will be applied in order to adjust the amount of liability that has been determined on completion of the assessment under section 153A. So kindly it must be noted. And then what will be done? Then it will be utilized, it will be used in order to adjust the amount of liability determined on completion of assessment of the year relevant to the previous year in which such search was initiated or in which such requisition was made, including in case some penalty, some interest was there. And then the amount, it will be adjusted for the amount in respect of which such person was in default or such person was deemed to be in default, or the amount of liability arising on an application made before the settlement commission. So it will be used for that also. In case some pendency is there, so that will be again adjusted from this amount. It will be applied for that also. Again, that what are the provisions regarding release of asset? Now let us see, dear students. Now let us assume that liability has been, you may say, adjusted. The existing liability, as I have just told you in the previous slide, total amount that was required from the assessee, that has been adjusted. That has been adjusted from such asset, and still you may say some portion of asset is there. So in that case, what will be there? We first of all we will try to adjust. You may say each and every rupee that is pending, and once we are satisfied that each and every recovery that was to be made, that has been made, that recovery has been made, then what will happen? Then the remaining asset or remaining portion of the asset may be released to the person from whose custody the department has seized the assets. So it is the rule, and it is there. So, what is the procedure? Kindly note that in that case, such person from whose custody assets were seized, he is required to apply to the assessing officer. An application is required to be made by him within 30 days, within 30 days from the end of the month in which such assets were seized for release of asset. So it should be noted. Then what will be there? Then what will be there? Kindly note that again he would be required to he would be required to offer satisfactory explanations to the assessing officer. It may be regarding nature of acquisition of such asset or sources of acquisition of such asset, and he should provide the explanations, and the assessing officer, you may say, uh, should be satisfied. Only after that he may proceed further. And one thing more, dear students, you should note that uh, before doing so, means before releasing the asset, before releasing the remaining portion of the asset, the assessing officer must obtain the prior approval of prior permission from principal chief commissioner, or principal commissioner, or commissioner. So it is necessary only after getting the prior permission from these higher authorities, the assessing officer may move further. And what is the time limit for release of asset? You see, now the application as per norms has been moved by the person from whose custody the assets were seized, and it is also clear that he has made the application within due time, within prescribed time. Now, what is the time limit for the release of asset? Kindly note that such asset or such remaining portion of the asset is required to be released within a period of 120 days, 120 days from the date on which last of the authorizations for search under section 132 or requisition under section 132A was executed. So these assets or portion of asset must be released within 120 days of such date. Now, order of assets to be applied for discharging liability, or what will be the order of asset. That in this case, what may be there, it will be basically used. First of all, the money will be used. First of all, money will be utilized in order to discharge of the liability for the adjustment of the liability. Then assets other than money will be utilized. So this is the basic order that is to be used for discharging liability. Now, in case all the liabilities have been discharged and still some assets or some proceeds are there, then these will be returned. I have already told you that these will be returned to the person from whose custody such assets were seized. One thing, my dear students, you must keep in mind, that in case aggregate amount of money either seized that has been realized through sale of assets, in case it is very huge amount is collected, and then from that amount we adjust each and every, you may say, outstanding payment that is recoverable from the assessee, and then we start adjusting those outstanding payments. And kindly note that we have adjusted the liabilities, we have adjusted, you may say, even the interest or anything else, and still the amount is there. Aggregate amount was so much, it was so large, it was so huge, that even after adjusting the liabilities, some amount is still available. Then government is bound to pay. Government is required to pay simple interest at the rate of 0.5% per month to the assessee. And what will be the, you may say, period? Kindly note that interest will be payable from the date immediately following the expiry of the period of 120 days from the relevant date. We have just discussed that what is that particular date under 132 or 132A. From that date to the date of completion of assessment under section 153A. So on the surplus money, interest will be given by the government. Simple interest will be given by the government, and the rate of interest is 0.5, you may say, half percent per month. Other useful points as far as uh, uh, search and seizure is concerned. Kindly note that the reasons to believe by the income tax authority recorded, these reasons should be recorded. But kindly note that such reasons shall not be disclosed to any person or any authority or even to the appellate tribunal. So it should be noted. And secondly, kindly note that no seized asset shall be retained by the department during the pendency of the appeal filed by revenue. No seized asset shall be retained by the department during the pendency of appeal filed by revenue. So it is also there. So with that, we have gone through the major provisions of search and seizure as given in the Income Tax Act 1961. Okay, students, thank you. Thank you very much.